How do you speak in a more charismatic way without overthinking every single word? You know that moment when you catch yourself trying to impress other people and now you're super self-aware. How am I standing? What am I saying? Yes, I've been there. And trust me, you don't want to be there. I wish I knew what I'm about to teach you sooner. My name is Danny Banchev. I grew up bullied, addicted, and socially anxious, which led me to become obsessed with the psychology of influence and social dynamics. Today, I get to speak on stages. I get paid to coach people on speaking, charisma, but most importantly, I get to experience what money cannot buy, which is a rich social life, meaningful relationships, and a lot of love. So the 7 habits I'm about to teach you today is not just some theory woo-woo stuff. It's actually what I had to build brick by brick to free myself from the biggest suffering of my life. Enjoy the art of charismatic speaking. Habit number 1, silence. This is by far the biggest one. You know, people that say, filler words. I used to record these video courses, and after recording hours of video courses, I would try to listen to them, and I would realize I was using like, right, every fucking sentence, and it was driving me crazy. I believe it's one of the main obstacles to the quality of someone's speech. And the problem is that, yes, awareness helps. When someone tells you, hey, stop using filler words, yes, it can help. But the root of the problem is deeper. And it's the inability to be comfortable in silence. It comes from discomfort with the pressure of silence. Now, the problem with that is that it sends signals of fear, of anxiety inside of you. And that's the opposite of charisma. Charisma is the ability to make people experience desire in your presence. It's the ability to be so comfortable with yourself, so enjoying of the present moment, people are drawn in. It also creates authority because by having silences in your speech, you create this sort of, hey, my words have weight. You must be patient with what I'm saying. I get to decide the rhythm. It's literally a form of frame control. Habit number 2, close your sentences properly. You know when someone goes, yeah, that's pretty much it. They share a whole idea just to finish with, yeah, that's pretty much it. Come on. I personally believe it's kind of linked with the first point, which is if you're uncomfortable with silence, you always think on the spot and you want to fill every silence. You're afraid of ending a sentence and leaving a few seconds, which is why I think people end that way. But the problem is that when you do that, it kind of sounds like you don't really know what you're talking about. It sounds like you're unprepared, which is why it's much better just end, and then if you have something else to say, you can continue. In the meantime, there will be silence, and that's okay. Habit number 3, speak a bit slower. This is something I can take as feedback also. There's some faster speakers, but I've practiced over time. There's something about speaking slower that signals calm, presence, being grounded, and people obviously respect that. People trust that. It is a sign of authority. This is also one of the most underrated elements of charisma. Can people relate to what you're saying? Can they even understand the stories you're sharing? Can they understand the ideas you're sharing? So speak slow. Number 4, project your voice. And that doesn't mean shouting. It means filling the space available with your voice. Make people feel your presence. It makes it more alive. Now, something very interesting, and you'll notice how it all comes down to this. Very often, the way you learn how to project your voice isn't even by learning to speak from your belly, which is an important element, but it's much more about, guess what? Your self-image. If you subconsciously believe you are not worthy of being heard, you're not worthy of people's attention, you're not worthy of taking up space, you'll subconsciously speak a bit lower. I remember noticing that in myself when I was speaking with people that I subconsciously considered as higher status, and I was afraid of being judged. I would literally speak a bit lower and my voice would be weak. And when I would speak with my first clients, as I was still learning the game of coaching and I was perceived as an authority, then I was speaking very loud and super confident. So again, self-image, this is what it comes down to. Most people project their voice with their best friends or with their families. It's just when you put them in a different context that everything changes. Now, habit number 5, this is super important. People don't give a fuck about theory, about information, about ideas if it's not backed up by a story. So habit number 5, tell stories. Instead of teaching stuff by preaching some theory, use metaphors, use analogies, use personal stories. They're easier to remember, and the lesson that you teach or the idea that you share will hit much deeper. It will be remembered in the subconscious mind only if it's linked to emotion, because stories create emotion, not facts. It is also how people create meaning. It's also why entertainment is so much bigger than education. Education can be very fun only if you mix it with entertainment. It's why the person who's the best storyteller in any group, in any event, is the person that attracts the most attention. I've been to so many events with speeches and conferences, and I've always noticed the most successful people, the people who had the most to teach, always taught in stories, much more than theory and information. Or when they did share some facts or some specific lesson, they immediately backed it up with a story. Notice what I just did in the previous point as well. I always give an example just to make it more real, that I'm not speaking out of my ass. It's actual experience, and I paint pictures. Again, show, don't tell as much as possible. That's what stories do. Number 6, guess what? Smile more. Some people need a reminder. You'll be amazed at how much of a difference that makes. And in order to bring that point home, I will, guess what? Share a story, because I practice what I preach. I remember I was helping a friend of mine with his client. We're both coaches, and he was teaching him how to approach women. So we were walking in Montreal, and he was like, okay, approach this woman. And we're observing how he was approaching her. And this man had a lot of difficulty with a smile. He was speaking like this. And obviously, when you approach a woman speaking like this on the street, you won't have a lot of success. And it is so fascinating how at first he was very serious, and the woman, you could see immediately they're so uncomfortable, and me and my friend were like, this is so uncomfortable, but we gotta help homie out. So he would come back and be like, bro, smile more, and we would do jokes and break his pattern. Eventually, he approaches a woman with a smile. Immediately, the same guy, nothing else changed. He was just smiling. The woman was much more receptive. She was smiling back. People are like mirrors. When you smile, you ever notice that? Try it out. You smile, you speak like this with a good smile, the person will smile back. If you're very serious, it's not gonna work. We underestimate that, but there's literally a thing in the brain called mirror neurons, where we mirror the other person's body language, subconsciously. Remember, I define charisma as the ability to make people experience desire in your presence. So when you have body language that is desirable, that is enjoyable, that person will feel more enjoyment in their own body, which will make their experience with you better, which is why you're more charismatic. All right, with all of that being said, last habit, last but not least, number 7, stay humble. This is the good balance, huh? Because the problem is, when you master all of these habits, you will actually become very charismatic, and you'll actually be perceived as very confident. People don't like that because they are insecure, and if you're too confident, then they start feeling insecure, and now they start projecting their own insecurities and they want to tear you down. Welcome to planet Earth. I know it should be better, we should all love each other, but there are some games that are just the way they are, so you gotta learn how to play the game. Now, the way you learn how to play that game, and the way you avoid being hated by anyone that doesn't have as much confidence as you do, which will be a lot of people when you increase your confidence, is by proactively demonstrating your humility. The way I learned that is by noticing the greatest people at what they do. For example, Tony Robbins, in my opinion, probably greatest speaker on the planet right now, especially in the world of education. So often in the beginning of his speeches, in the middle of his speeches, he makes fun of himself. He showed that he doesn't take himself seriously. He shares his struggles. He consistently says, "Who am I to tell you what to do?" Wow, that's literally what he's doing. He's persuading people to change their lives. That's literally his job. And so there's this fine balance you must maintain. And when you lose it, what happens is what's currently happening with Timothée Chalamet. If you've noticed, he has been getting more and more hate just because he is publicly sharing how confident he is in his art. And people like me, who have high confidence, are like, let's go, bro. Fuck yeah. I love that. But the majority of the population is hating it because it triggers their own inferiority complex. Guys, I promise you, master these and you will master the world. I say the world is shaped by those who learn how to move people. That's how you move people, with these 7 habits. That was all for me today. You can check out the links in the description with some cool free stuff for you, my friends, and you can interact with me as well and a lot of other people that are practicing these habits on a daily and weekly basis. Until next video, peace, be grateful, I love you, bye.